Hey,
We are
Morning.
no fooling. It's April, and we're on Bead Maker and Coffee for the post TRCMA product conversation with the chemist Dave Phillips and your host Sid Wynn. How you doing, Sid?
I'm good. How about you guys? Oh my gosh, my
I
dog, of
got
course, like
Josh
right this minute, it's like
got
I
him
have
in
to
the
go to the
corner.
bathroom. Hi,
Morning,
Josh.
everyone. Morning.
good morning.
It's training week
How
at
are you?
PMS, so Bob is eagerly waiting for us at the training center, but we're going to do Bead Maker and Coffee first.
Nice, nice. Well, I'm sure you guys are feeling a little bit better than myself. Last week was crazy, but it was so fun. And I have three animals literally right now. So my dog's gonna ask to go to the bathroom here shortly. Uh-oh, there's gonna be a cat fight. Hey, stop. Well, it's Monday. Oh my gosh, it's Monday. That's a way to wake you up. And we had some new products released last week.
We did.
Yeah, it's been fun. What'd you think, Dave, of TRCMA? This was our fifth one.
Yeah, I thought it was great. It was. They've made a few changes.
Hmm.
The format a little bit, but it's great to see all the Rag Company people.
Hmm.
As usual, they did a really professional job. It was great to be there. It's always, I took pictures, just of the
Hmm.
studio and stuff. It's kind of fun. You
Yeah,
feel like a
yeah,
fan being at the
yeah.
studio. And I
It's
thought the
yeah.
presentation went great.
Yeah, it did. It totally went great. Yeah, and I was there for the whole week, obviously. Definitely the studio upgrade this year made all the difference in the world. And then switching everything over to batteries made all the difference in the world. Everything was so clean and nice. So yeah, it was really good, but it was really long days, and so much fun was had with everybody in town. And it was just absolutely great. And so far, the product release has been absolutely great. So let's dive into it. So, first thing, and I brought in all the products. And yes, Dave, that was a compliment that I have all of them. I'm so excited about all of them.
Oh, okay. I was
So,
like, well, there aren't enough.
I heard you say that as we were going to the video. Yes, it was absolutely a compliment. Anytime there's new products, I'm excited. So first, I think this was probably a long-awaited one. Was we released Creamsicle in the PNS fragrance line, right?
Yep.
So this is obviously arts and crafts. We don't sell these, but wanted to show it anyway. So we have the pints that are dilutable to your liking. So that one has been a big hit. So it's obviously the essence of Swift. And Dave, you've been waiting forever to come out with this one.
Yeah, yeah. I've sent up so many trial balloons on Creamsicle. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's like,
I love
and
it.
then a lot of times, it's like, unfortunately, it didn't end up in products that were all that popular. So they were a little on
Hmm.
the side. And so it's like,
Hmm.
oh, no one ever saw that, but I
Yeah.
love it.
Oh gosh.
Always love it.
Yeah.
And I love creamsicles too. We
Yes.
keep a
Yes.
couple of them in the fridge, and it's like,
Ah.
Yeah. I'm excited. I think it's perfect coming into summer. It'll be the perfect summer fragrance. And then we released the long awaited, which this one we'll have to have a discussion about, the long awaited heavy duty compound and final polish. So, intervention and therapy to round out our paint recovery series with rehab landing smack in the middle. So, Dave, tell us about this kind of, where this all came from and the story behind these.
well, as you remember, you and me and Bob had quite the discussions
Yeah.
on these products, right? Trying to decide what
Yes.
order to come out with them in.
Yeah.
And we always had this as a plan,
Hmm.
but rehab was the first one we came up with that was really
Hmm.
looking like it was going to be a great product. So
Hmm.
and then we had to discuss how we wanted to release the other one. So it's
Hmm.
been a fun, little bit tumultuous uh,
Yeah.
project. And then we had to, we had to really work hard to get the various abrasives for each one.
Yeah.
And as
Yeah.
I mentioned at TRCMA, give credit to the 3D team
Hmm.
on on helping us put those together,
Hmm.
and we're extremely happy about it. and we got so picky about the one for intervention that
Yep.
it's not ready yet. It's
Right.
like we needed to have this thing put together for us. So and it's a process.
Yeah.
Putting
Yeah.
abrasives together is kind of shockingly hard.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Right. And so what some people may not know is that 3D mills their own abrasives, right? So we're talking about the actual abrasive in the liquid, not the whole thing. And so they mill their own abrasives. And so obviously now that we're in the family, we have access to those. And so I do think this is an important part of the story. Is so we came out with rehab and it was so great and it covered such a wide range
Yep.
that we were like, okay, now how do we back it down and how do we pump it up, right? We obviously knew that Ego Maker and Deep Finish and the double black line needed a major overhaul, right? And so we didn't start with those, but we needed something to fill those shoes because those were older technology. We just had better stuff. And so honestly, not only was the abrasive an issue, but the other issue was us trying to make the heavy cut compound cut more and look like a different product. Like that is where we got hung up, right? Therapy was pretty easy. Intervention, though, we had to make it do more than rehab and look like you did more and, leave behind something that showed that it was a different product. And so we struggled with that for a long time. But I think the important part of what Dave just said is that, for everyone out there is to know that we could have taken a faster route, right? We could have chosen a different abrasive. We had some options that were available immediately, but we wanted it to be that much different than rehab as far as its cutting ability. And so for us, we were willing to take that kind of hit and wait a little bit on what we felt like was the best abrasive, something that stood apart, that wasn't like others. And so I think that that's kind of cool, even though obviously we're always bummed to put a product out later than what we thought. But I think it's also a testament to that we wanted it to be the best and the right one. So it will be out in what do we think, 30, 45 days?
Yeah, I think it's like 45 days. Yeah. So
Okay.
one of the the things about an aggressive product is it's pretty actually easy to make an aggressive product for soft paint or
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And unfortunately, because of the hardness of the harder paints, the softer abrasives, even though they're larger, just fall. They just don't make it, right? They just don't do the job they're supposed to do on that paint. So what we needed to do was, this is a product that stands up to ceramic and hard paint. So that's that was really one of the main criteria. The other thing is, a lot of surprisingly, when we do this product testing, a lot of products look like they're cutting a lot, but if you put a gauge sanding mark into a paint that's something you can test for, you can find out that they might scratch a lot, but they don't necessarily remove more sanding marks, which is a little counterintuitive.
Right.
So and that's it. And so the opposite of that is can be true too. You can have products that don't look like they're doing a lot of scratch removal because they're polished. They don't have the the scratching that results, but they can be removing a lot of scratches without doing that. So we needed to get basically all those processes together to get intervention going.
Yeah. And then therapy, and I don't know if you'll tell us, because I don't know. It's really like a mix of like what the scents are in intervention and therapy, but all I can say is they're both amazing, but they are like a mixture of stuff, right?
They're brand new, actually. No, they were. It was kind of.
No, that's what I mean. But it's multiple layers, right? Like it's not.
Oh
just
yeah, they're not.
Like
they're not just simple. It's not like
cherry.
They're complex fragrances. They have. They're usually a blend of things that.
Yeah, they
like
smell amazing.
Lemonade. It's like those are a couple of things put together that have but these are not them. That's not what these are. Yeah. But they're definitely complex fragrances.
Yeah, they smell great. So that's the cool thing, is you're going to get the same kind of like aromatic enjoyment while you're polishing, which is awesome. So therapy, This one was a little bit easier of a task, but it is really an amazing polish. I actually got to use it several times this week. I used it on Delaney's Jeep last night. We had to do, I'd take down her whole hood because it got water spotted last year. And so I used intervention and therapy to get out the water spots. But she has that black Mopar paint that sometimes on the finish can be kind of finicky. And so I just went over the whole thing with therapy, and it was so great. And then I wanted to address this. We did not address this on TRCMA, but let's address it now. So a lot of people have already written in, like, is it trim safe? So obviously intervention because of the abrasive, probably not trim safe. You may want to tape it off. Therapy, this is going to be like how you interpret trim safe. So is it going to leave white marks on the trim? No. But if you hit the trim with it and it's old aged trim, it will turn it nice and black again. So if you're going to hit trim, I think my advice is that you have to be committed to polishing that trim, but then it works great. Again, Delaney's Jeep, yesterday I was working on it. She had some acid burn from something on one of her Jeep fenders that's all plastic. And so I just polished the whole thing with therapy and it turned out phenomenal. And so it was great for that. But just keep in mind, if you're hitting aged trim, it will turn nice and black, which is just going to be the opposite of the white. So if you are going to hit the trim, you're kind of committed to polishing out the trim. Yeah. If it's faded. So it's a very nice polish. But what I do love about trim that needs to be polished, and kind of one of the inspirations for this was when, if you guys remember in the Stout video, we were doing Anthony's Forerunner, right? And it had those black plastic or trim panels right next to the window. And we needed to polish them because they were just kind of old and we needed to polish them. So that was one of the things, that was one of the check boxes that went under therapy, was that it would be able to do a task like that.
Right.
So that was pretty cool. So therapy, nailed it, love it. The other thing about therapy is I've had a couple guys who work on classic cars that really love it for, and this was the one vehicle that rehab didn't work on. Was I had a 55 Chevy truck that rehab did not work on, because when they spray those 17 layers of clear, there's just something, it's not like traditional clear. And so I had another gentleman use therapy on I believe it was a 55 Chevy car, but with a cutting pad, and it was perfect. So it's just got enough of whatever magic is in there to not mar up, sensitive after, fancy clear. Well, I don't even know what the difference is, but something's different.
Yeah, so, but we've all seen it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally. Yeah. So super excited about those.
The cars that have rumors that they have 13 pounds of paint on them. You go, oh.
Yeah, for sure. So therapy is available now. Intervention, we're still a good 4 to 6 weeks out. So stay tuned for that, but we're super excited about it. Rehab is still going to cover the bulk of what we're doing in the middle, but you always need a heavy cut compound and a polish. So we're super excited about them. They do come in the 8-ounce size right off the bat, as well as the quart. And I'm not sure if there's gallons yet. I don't think there's gallons yet.
No,
obviously not of intervention. We don't have any
compound or polish. Yeah. So no gallons yet, but if demand is there, then we obviously do adapt to that kind of stuff.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So then the last one that we did, which I'm so excited about, is Release, the Vacuum Aid. So this one has been kind of funny. So we've had, what I think is funny is some people have really questioned it online, and then other people who have used it are like, no, it's absolutely amazing. And that's just what I'm waiting for, is it's actually amazing. So Release is a funny story, right, Dave? So as we all know, a couple years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we started using paint gloss as a vacuum aid. But the bottle of paint gloss says it's a quick detailer. Mm-hmm. And we all know Dave doesn't care for when we use products for unintended purposes. And even though it worked, it's still one of those things that when you look at something from like an outsider looking in who maybe doesn't watch our shows or doesn't watch our social media, is that no one knows that if they don't know, right? They don't know that you can use paint gloss as a vacuum aid. So so Dave created one, and I could not be more excited about this one. It's absolutely amazing. So Dave, kind of go into the science of why somebody would choose this over paint gloss.
Yeah, I mean, paint gloss did a pretty good job of the one thing, right? It kind of helped break the static charge for the hair, and different soils that are on the surface, and it did a nice job spraying out. Release, we've added a couple of functional ingredients. So there's an actual there's an actual anti-stat in the product. Paint gloss has kind of an accidental anti-stat in it, but it's but in this case we put a real one in there, and we also have an anti-soil, which I think is kind of funny because, well, in theory you're going to maybe clean the carpet with something else afterwards, but you don't always have to do that. So the anti-soil is a nice addition, and then fragrance. We basically. So one of the deals that we're kind of required to do, so we don't have SKU expansion too much, is a lot of times we have to take another product and we have to get rid of it. So we put
retiring them, Dave.
Aaron, huh?
We retired it. We didn't get rid of it. We retired.
We retired. Okay, so we used the Aaron fabric fragrance in release, and Aaron fabric's always been a nice product, but it really didn't sell that well. So this can be used the exact same way. I guess it's kind of an off-label thing for that then. But it's got a very nice fragrance in it compared to paint gloss, which is kind of I don't know, it's just kind of understated.
Yeah. So this is going to do more, odor neutralizing. The scent's going to stick around a little bit more.
There's an odor neutralizer in it too, which actually was in Aaron fabric as well.
Yes. So that part is very nice. I have really been enjoying that. I've obviously been testing it for some time, and I actually really appreciate that it kind of leaves behind, and it's kind of just a clean linen scent, not necessarily laundry, but just a clean, fresh, think of like, clean, fresh linen scent type. But I love it because it hangs around. I also like it because it makes my whole shop smell like that, but it's not overpowering or, I don't think anybody's going to find it offensive. It's just very, very nice and pleasant. So I'm loving it. And I think that I've enjoyed kind of the talk about it on the Bead Maker Lounge, is that those who have tried it are like, oh no, it is way different and it's great. So I love that. I know it's one of my new favorite products. I'm super, super excited about it. Obviously we know I've always been a fan of the vacuum aid, right? And I've loved paint gloss. Paint gloss has served its purpose. Maybe now it can go back to being my final exterior wipe, which I still love it for that. But yeah, so the release it's absolutely amazing. And I do see some comments coming up of those who have tried it, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So super excited about it.
Speaking of comments, I'm going to start throwing up the good mornings.
Yeah, and let's go through real quick then. What's our favorite product of the week? I don't want to skip this part.
Right,
Dave.
I felt left out.
Yeah, Dave, what's your favorite product of the week?
Well, it was Reflect.
Nice.
I know
Definitely
we did
still a favorite, yeah.
At TRCMA. That does not, I think, show well on video.
Yeah, it never does, but
we did the demo there, and so I was, when I wasn't doing a car, but I was, just cleaning up some of the glass around the house, kind of after storms and glass tables and all sorts of stuff, and it was wonderful. And one of the things, is that the fragrance, it smells great. So I did know that as I was using it, but the thing I found is, it's been about 2 days since then. A lot of times when you clean glass, you can start seeing some corners and streaks show up, and it stayed remarkably clean afterwards. So it's perfect. I loved it.
Nice. I do love Reflect so much. I push it to its limits, and I am the same. I use it in my house. I use it everywhere. I go through so much Reflect. I think we're going to have to come out with it in gallons. It is absolutely amazing. I swear I go through a pint a week. It's crazy. Because I use it on everything. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I think you do need gallons.
Yeah, Reflect is amazing. I'm gonna go with, let's see. Obviously, I want to go with one of the new products, but I'm kind of torn, which is surprising to me, which I do want to share this. I'm torn between release and therapy because, obviously I'm just a huge rehab fan, but I've had to use therapy a couple times this week. And man, I love it more than I thought I would. It's funny how my brain switches from testing to just general using it. I always think that's interesting how my brain works in that way. So obviously I got to use it lots during testing, but now that I've had to use it because I had to grab it, you know what I mean? It makes me like it in a different way. So therapy, and then obviously release. I've used a ton of release this week and absolutely just love it. I had to go back through my car because, my car got beat up a little bit on TRCMA with putting stuff in the back to vacuum up. So got to clean my car back up and get it back into shape. So obviously love the release. Also, I had a bottle of release leak in the back of my car. So now my car smells fantastic, which I love. So the quart bottle, the lid wasn't screwed on and it got thrown in the back of my car. So I had an entire quart of release spill in my car. So it smells amazing.
It's a fair amount.
Yeah. But beyond that, I would say, I still like Clarity Cream. I had to use that a couple times last week, and it's just one of those that never gets old. I think it's one that every time I use it, I go, man, I love this product. I just love it. Totally dig it. Keith, did you have a favorite? You got to do a training. I know it seems like forever ago, but we did a training the day before TRCMA started.
Yeah. And I would say, rehab still just gets it done.
Yeah.
And such a universal product. And when I look at it in the training environment, we had a lot of guys and gals in that class who had the breadth of experience, some very experienced, some who'd never touched a tool. They get a result with it, and it's consistent. So probably rehab just for that. But I will say I did have the release in my buggy on the way home, and there was just that little scent of release going through the truck, and it was rather nice. So,
nice. It does smell.
I actually forgot how nice the fragrance on Air and Fabric Refresher was. Just because it was kind of a one-trick pony, and not a lot of people used it.
Right.
I think with release, we'll see a lot more use of that product. So, see how that goes. Speaking of going, good morning, Dan from Minnesota, and Frank is with us from Pittsburgh.
Nice.
And we're running through these because we've got good questions coming up.
Cool.
Morning, Paul. Hans made it. Yes.
Hans, get out. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
And we are fully international today. Look at that. Rags and brushes
Nice.
from Mexicali.
Welcome.
Jeff with us today. Good morning, Jeff. And our favorite tall human being, a giant of a man that he is.
Joey Belinsky. Look who got up so early. Joey says, I'm awake. I'm here. What an absolute blast I had with you guys last week. Thanks for showing me a good time. Let's do it again. Let's do it.
Definitely enjoyable hanging out with Joey.
Yes. Yeah. Joey was amazing. Joey and Alex just killed it on the halftime
and
show.
They did such a nice job, right?
Yeah. So good. So good.
So
X6M Ghost. Good morning.
He has said good morning to everybody. So I'm just bouncing through. Yeah. He has hit them all, even people who haven't checked in with us yet. So
I know, it's like, how do they remember? I see Humberto's just about getting everybody too. It's like, how do they remember everybody that's here?
Oh, look at that.
Hey, Dave.
That's flowers, Sid.
Aw, flowers for Sid.
Good morning.
That's nice.
Morning, Paul.
Tuning in from Southern California. I always love when the West Coast checks in. It's early for you guys.
It is. Paul, we may see you in San Diego. Sid and I are down south this weekend, Friday, Saturday. So, try and catch up with us.
Yes. Good morning, Piper, Archie, and Chris. I think
that is the.
I think the fighting is down to a dull roar now. I think they all wore themselves out.
Hey,
good morning from Canada.
Right.
Oh. All right, Aaron. I can't imagine what goes into. Yeah, I can't imagine what goes into one day at TRCMA, not including 4. It's pretty crazy. That crew, man, I can't say enough about the producers and stuff, Nick and Glenn. Holy cow. And it's crazy. So impressive.
It is,
So
and
impressive.
I mean, we've now been there every day. We've been on at the show. We did the first year we did Thursday, then we did Monday 2 years in a row, and then
Yeah.
we were Wednesday this year. We've never done Tuesday, but it seems like it doesn't matter what the day is and how far in the week they are, they just kill it.
Yeah.
So they did a great job.
Absolutely amazing. Dawn says, good morning, all. Congrats on the fabulous showing at TRCMA. I ordered all of the new products and can't wait to try them out. I think I get them on Wednesday. I'm excited for Release Therapy and the Orange Creamsicle scent. You are going to love all 3 of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
That's a tough lineup to pick a favorite out of. So.
Yep. Justin, good morning.
Dave Ford's with us.
Dave says, good morning. Paul, I'm looking forward to my certification course this week with Sydney and Keith on Friday. Awesome. So he is coming. Perfect.
He's coming
Great.
to super detail.
Awesome.
Yay.
Awesome. We did have some stout certifications that happened in my garage this week too. Mr. Joey Belinsky. Yes, he was one of them. He says it's the perfect creamsicle scent. Nailed it. Yep, it's a little on the vanilla side, right? Little less orange, little more vanilla. It's like the perfect creamsicle scent. Amber, good morning.
Good morning. Sarah's with us. All right, Sarah.
Sarah, good morning. Hans, I would like to try the new Compound Trio. Yeah, it's pretty great. I'm not sure when it will make it over there, but
next week.
Pretty great. But not therapy, right?
Leave it in a week.
No, not therapy won't.
Not intervention, but therapy is on that.
Oh, therapy's on there? Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, cool. So therapy's on its way.
Hey, he's got what we've got, so that'll work out. So.
Yeah.
Although on Wednesday and Thursday, when Bob and I are down at the production facility, maybe we can go kick on the kiln and get them started on making some.
Yeah, get it fired up. Let's go. Paul, yes, Rehab and the Buff and Shine Blueberry Pad is an amazing combo. No kidding. You know which one I use even more than that, though, is Rehab and the Maroon, which I was scared to death of before, but man, I think I'm like 90% of the time maroon. Superado says, any stock issues on the small bottles of Rehab, intervention, and therapy? Well, we don't have intervention. Therapy, I think Rehab and therapy are both good in small bottles, right, Dave? I'm sure. I mean, therapies.
Yeah, they are. I got a little note. I guess we put the wrong cap on the bottles. So we have to go back and change those all out to applicator caps.
Okay, gotcha.
But we will get that done today. Hopefully not too many of them got out, but I guess let us know. I mean, a lot of times people have extra caps sitting around for 8-ounce bottles anyway. So they can handle it quickly and easily on their own. But if not, I guess we're going to have to fix it.
Yeah.
Cool. Yep. Good deal. X6M Ghost says, what would you guys use as a dressing that smells good for interiors? I need something new for my customers. Recently using the basic ones, VRP and McGuire's Gold Class Rich Leather. Ooh, this one's easy for me. I'm a natural finish girl myself because it has the leather scent, which we all know PNS has the absolute best leather scent on the market. And so I'm a big fan of natural finish. Love it.
Yeah, I'm sticking with natural finish too. I think it's a great interior product. And
Josh nods his approval. So
mostly designed for the interior, right? So it's
right.
It's a great product for that.
But if you want to mix it up and have a little fun and go the Dave route, you can't go wrong with Swift and the Orange Creamsicle.
Right.
But I'm a natural finish guy too, so I can't argue with that.
Aaron Layton, are the abrasives in the 3 products different? Dave?
Yes, they are. Yes. So intervention is a completely new abrasive. It's 100% alpha particles, which are basically these kind of corundum shaped very hard, very sharp products. Pretty much a primary particle abrasive. Not a lot of clumping. So what you start with is what you basically get, and they hold their shape and hardness basically through the polishing process. So that's kind of an important concept of the way they work. And now rehab is a combination of alpha and beta particles, and lean towards the alpha side. But again, they're still the beta particles are softer. They're a different shape, and so they tend to polish better. And then as you move down towards therapy, you get a higher concentration of the beta particles. So they're all three are different abrasive systems. But they're all, people love, kind of, are they diminishing? They're not a diminishing abrasive. They are basically a primary particle that just polishes. One of the things that's really nice about rehab and therapy is that this is why you can keep polishing, right? Mm-hmm. You get some diminishing in the polish because, you eventually build up some impurities from the paint that are soft because you're actually, polishing the surface. But what you start with is what you get. And so you can just kind of keep going. And it's one of the reasons why I think it's kind of fun. You're polishing a section, you see a little extra scratch, and you go, I'll just put a little effort into that little spot, and you can just watch the scratch go away. And that's because the abrasive isn't falling apart. It's not really changing over the time. What ends up happening is you get evaporation from the solvents and the water and all that sort of stuff. So things do change a little bit, but the abrasive itself is holding up.
Yep.
Yeah. And I know, and all three are similar in the way of no dusting and easy wipe off, right? So I know that was one question that we had a lot was the intervention. Is it hard to wipe off like most compounds? No, it's still freakishly easy, which is so great.
Yeah.
So great.
Well, that allows you that longer cycle time, so you can kind of keep working the product, which is pretty awesome. Yeah. So,
yeah.
All right. Joey weighed in. He says natural finish.
Natural finish. Love it. Yes. And X6M Ghost says, thanks, JB. Was thinking of trying 303 Aerospace or Swift for a good scent, but haven't tried either. I'll take a look at Natural Finish. So Natural Finish is a true standalone protectant, right? And then Swift is going to be a combo product. Yes. So it's a good choice of dual purpose. So it's going to clean and protect. Natural Finish is going to leave behind a little bit more of a solid, longer lasting protection, whereas Swift is kind of what I do as my maintenance. Both are great. I love Swift as well. I usually put Natural Finish in my own vehicle like every 6 months, and then I do kind of Swift in between. But love them both. He says, cool. Justin, full send is also a great option. It is, but with the caveat that you're going to have much more shine and it's a much more stout protectant, but you can absolutely use full send. It's going to hang around a little bit more for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely more. I would consider that a multi-purpose dressing for interior, exterior.
Yeah.
So
it's a personal choice. How much gloss?
Yeah.
Right.
It is. And it's also depending on how dry the interior is. I mean, I've had some, like older Suburbans that are really, really dry. And so I've needed kind of that extra kick up. But if I put full send in my car, it'd be a mess just because there's not a dry part in my car. Right. So, but on really dry interiors, I would definitely use full send for sure.
Yeah.
All right. X6M Ghost says, thanks, Justin. Been wanting to try. Oh, he's just kind of repeating himself, but can't lie, VRP smells pretty good and customers love it. I'm here for the hat look, Sid. Thanks. Yeah, this is what happens when you're a little bit tired. You get the hat look. Yep.
There we go. This is our mid-show. Smash the like button, share, do all the stuff, subscribe.
Do all the things.
Do all the things.
Yes. Do all the things. Yeah. Paul Rhodes, rehab smells like watermelon. It's so nice. It does.
And Dave's not
love the smell of rehab.
What fragrances are, which I kind of like because it gives us a spot to open up a an essence
Yeah.
fragrance in the future. So I kind of like that.
Right. Yeah. Rags and Brushes says, I use dynamic dressing, had a fresh banana scent. It smells great. Yep. And dynamic's going to kind of be there with the full scent. Dynamic's nice because you can dilute it. So if it is a little too glossy for you, you can dilute it down. But dynamic has always been a great interior choice as well. It is one of those things where here's where the scent is going to affect you. For me,
Sydney doesn't like bananas.
no, I love bananas. I hate
Oh, you love
banana
bananas?
scent.
Yeah.
I love bananas. I hate
that
banana scent. Yeah, no, it reminds me of runts. And I think when I was little, my brother used to pick out all the runts and make me eat the banana ones. And so the scent of artificial banana scent is not my wheelhouse. I still use dynamic like a fool, but only on the exterior.
So the thing about, the fragrance in banana is the fragrance we buy is actually called banana. It's not
Oh, wow. Yeah.
over the top.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
you'll never get me to like banana. If you're in the military, you know what banana oil is. You know where you're exposed to it. Never like banana.
You got to be careful of that things. Yeah, you can pull out a lot of memories with fragrances.
Yeah, exactly.
Banana's
Alex
not
Dewar. Better late
here.
than
You made
never.
it.
What a week. Love you all. We love you too, Alex. We miss you already. No worries, Dewar. It's only 6:30 a.m. Well, and it's 8 o'clock where Dewar is, so he's up late.
Hey, check in from Mike in
Mike.
Boston and Massachusetts area. Awesomeness.
Yes, love the name of the new line. We did get lots of comments on this on TRCMA. They didn't put them all up, but yes, everyone loving the names, which we've had a lot of fun with it. I think they're, totally appropriate. And then Bob kind of came up with the paint recovery series and rounded out the whole thing. So,
we didn't even talk about that. We did release a new T-shirt this week.
Yes, which I tried to find mine today and I can't find it anywhere.
Mine's in the back seat of the truck. I still haven't unpacked from my trip to Boise. So,
yeah.
I think the thing that's nice about the names is it's not hard to tell what they do. I mean, they're
right,
clever, but there's no question about which one works in which applications.
Yes. Yep. No, they're great. Super fun.
All right. So here's a great question, and the answer here is no. Kind of rehab, we've touted it as you tune the pad to get the result you want with rehab. But Sid, you've worked with intervention more than any of us. My question is, can you tone the pad down a little bit now with the extra cut that comes with it, or how do you?
I've probably never honestly tried it with anything lower than a blue, just because I'm intending to do heavy cutting and I know that I'm going to leave marring and I know I'm going to do a second step. So I've never really tried to dial the pad down anything past a blue, but I have used therapy on up to a blue. So therapy, this is where I think in those like older, or not older, but special clear coats and things, I think that this is where therapy is going to shine. Is it's still going to provide you cutting, but it's got so much other stuff in it that makes it, not leave behind any marring and really just insane gloss that, I think therapy is probably quite more adaptable. I'm sure intervention is too. I think I just look at it and I'm not sure why I would want to use like a lighter pad and risk leaving marring still and still have to go back over it. Like I want to get the most amount of cut out of my effort, I guess, if I'm going to pull out an intervention.
So let's talk about that term. Maybe I've misunderstood it. I thought does pad dependent mean that you have to use the same pad with the same product, or because I kind of thought if you change pads, you get a different result depending on which pad you have.
So there's some products that don't work on different types of pads. So there's some products on the market that if you used it with a certain pad, it wouldn't work real great. And so what we noticed with rehab is it's very pad dependent in the mean of what finish you get, but it can basically go on any pad. I believe these two new ones will be the same way, but like I'm saying, I wouldn't necessarily go super light on the cut with intervention, because if I'm going to pull out intervention, I'm meaning to do the most amount of cut.
Right.
But with therapy, you could maybe get more cut out of your pad, but have some of those better finishing abilities of therapy, like on the finicky 55 paint, where it's not from 55, but the pounds of clear that we talked about. So I think that's where it's, you know, pad adaptable maybe is a better word. Um, and so I would just personally, I would say intervention may not be, it's going to go more from like blue up to like microfiber wool. It's going to work great on any of those because you're meaning to do heavy cutting. If you're wanting to do correction and use a lighter pad, I'm going to say stick with rehab, honestly. So yeah. Oh,
yeah, I mean,
this
and
was
so we looked at this, from the perspective of, okay, we have rehab. Rehab's your one-step product, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so,
yeah.
And then it's like some people, and some paints need a two-step process.
Yes.
So, I think, most of the time, rehab's going to do the job. It'll do the job for me.
Yep. All right. This is a great one. And I saw this come in earlier, so I didn't mention it when I was talking about therapy. So Joey can confirm, witness Sydney polish right over carbon wrap, and it looked amazing afterwards. So I know you guys all know I have that carbon wrap on my hood. It's looked terrible for years. I've tried various coatings to see if it would kind of revive the wrap, and it wouldn't. There was several spots that I did several years ago. I ran over it with a compound, not one of ours, but I ran over it with a compound. So it had white edges mixed into the carbon, and it never went away. It always looked not very good. And so when I was certifying Joey and Alex on Stout, we two-stepped my hood and my fenders. We did rehab with therapy over it. And I used therapy on top of the carbon fiber wrap. And it literally polished it all out. It removed all those old white specks, and it turned the wrap black again. And then when we coated over it, it looked great. So that was another thing that I was super excited about, is even for like, stickers and stuff. So last night when I did Delaney's hood, she's got that very large sticker in the center of her hood. And I went right over it with therapy, and it got all the water spots off the vinyl sticker and it looked amazing. So super excited about that. Josh Pierce, the Paint Recovery Series is such an amazing system. It can handle all your paint correction needs, for sure. I feel like I have everything now, which is great.
Yep.
Joey Valenci, smash the like button for my hardworking friends. Jeff, I'm assuming that all the new paints rehabilitation product line is Body Shop safe.
Yeah.
I love the rehabilitation. Bob Cox says release is amazing. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're super excited about it. All right. Hyper Rock says, tell Dave I only got paint gloss because of her. Oh, because of me. That's nice. Yeah, I know. I love me some paint gloss. I told the story on TRCMA, but I'll never forget the first time that we were at Rennie's shop, and I said, Dave, come watch. I vacuumed with paint gloss, and I had to show him on a Porsche, and that's always the best, is to say, Dave, look at this. Look at me do something off label. It's great, but it served us well for the last 5 years. But we're excited to have
it. So if you're going to switch away from paint gloss for your soil release agent, maybe you could, you can start trying it out on the paint.
Yeah, it's great on the paint. It's absolutely great on the paint.
Use product as intended. That's not us.
We, I mean, we, obviously at McCall's and down in Monterey, we get out there in the middle of the day when it starts getting warm, and paint gloss just helps us out immensely.
Yeah, paint gloss it's just an amazing product. But I do love that using it as the vacuum aid did put it in a lot of people's hands that didn't have it otherwise. And I think obviously everyone has realized that paint gloss as a whole is an absolutely incredible product. It's so great for all the final wipes, the quick detailer. I mean, we keep it in all of our cars. It's kind of our emergency product that will do all things. If, a bird has an accident on our car, or if bugs or somebody spills something inside. I mean, it's kind of like that catch-all. If you get something on your shoe, I mean, it'll really do everything. And so, paint gloss is still, such a solid product. And I mean, I'll still use just as much of it, but maybe for more intended purposes now.
Yep.
Paul says, I can't wait to get my hands on therapy and the vacuum aid. Yes. Hello, Scott. Good morning.
Scott?
Jeff, just ordered some therapy and release. Looking forward to an intervention.
Yeah.
I promise you intervention will be worth the wait. We do have to wait, but I promise it will be worth it. Paul, paint gloss has worked for me, but the vacuum aid should be even better. Yes. And that's kind of, the thing. Like paint gloss, we're never going to sit here and say it didn't work. We're not going to, this just has a couple extra functions of it that make it a little bit better. I obviously love paint gloss more than anything. And, but release, it is just that much better. And for me, where the majority of the vehicles I'm doing don't need extraction of the carpets, but everybody's car, like, let's be real, everybody's car has a little bit of a funk, whether it be because they took home leftovers or, cars just start to smell funny. And so not that you would use this in place of like, if you had a smoker's car, it's not going to remove all the smoke, but it just, for me, it just kind of finishes the detail. It just makes it super fresh and clean smelling, which is a great way to top off the detail, right? So I like the odor neutralizer, even though I wouldn't say that everybody's car stinks, but it's just a nice, insurance policy. I love it.
Yep.
All right. Josh Pierce in the comments. I love it. Replying to Jeff, they are amazing products for use in body shop. The Paint Recover series is all we use in our collision center.
There you go.
Yes.
So here's one we've gotten asked a little bit over the years, and does Absolute act as a vacuum aid to a degree? I guess it could, but what's your thought, Dave?
I haven't tried it for that. Usually it's in like a pressure sprayer and my bucket, so I haven't really. Yeah. It's like too much product comes out for me to have tried it on the interior yet, but yeah. It probably would in a spray bottle. I
have tried it. It's not my favorite. And I think the reason being is, for whatever reason, I think because of the polymers in it, I feel like it's a little heavy, if that makes sense. When you spray it, it's a little bit heavier of water. I don't know if that's even a thing, but I feel like it doesn't atomize in the same way that like release or paint gloss does. And so when it puts down a little bit more product because of how heavy the product is, I do feel like it gets a little bit more in the vacuum, which, not a fan of. I don't want to burn out my vacuum motor. It has some anti-static, but it's not really the same. I think it's kind of right up there with people that are like, oh, water will do the same thing. Like, no, water itself is heavier than this. And then there's people using, I do want to mention, since we're on the topic, there's people that have said, well, I just use glass cleaner or they use carpet bomber. The carpet bomber one threw me. I'm like, you guys, you are literally spraying surfactants on the surface. And unless you're going back with the finisher, when we spray carpet bomber and then we scrub them and wipe them or steam them or whatever, we're somewhat removing those surfactants, but people are just spraying carpet bomber and vacuuming. And I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. You're leaving a, soiling agent that's going to actually pull the soil off your shoes and put them on the carpet. So don't do that. Don't use carpet bomber.
Yeah, it wouldn't be my first choice for sure.
Yeah, no. So I'm kind of the same with the Absolute. Like, I think it will work for sure, but I think when you really want to be efficient and make sure you're using something that's designed for that purpose, I think. And if you look at the comments on Bead Maker Lounge, we see that everyone who has had their hands on it is like, oh, yes, it's better. It just is. It's not saying that absolute doesn't work, but this is just much more efficient, and you're going to get that, odor neutralizing that, I mean, I've never met a car that couldn't stand to use that, right?
Yep.
Humberto, good morning, PNS team.
And then Humberto says hello to
Humberto,
everybody.
every single person, every single person in the comments.
I'm hitting them all. I'm just not staying on them. Hey, we got the
Hello
UK
from
on
the
board.
UK. Nice.
So cool to see how far you can reach, and the people.
Yep, it's
really
awesome.
fun.
It's awesome.
We're getting through everybody, and then we're going to Sarah, and Sarah's got a comment.
All right. After using no rub coating on panels, can you use Swift or natural finish in between cleanings, or will no rub still have that shine? So I don't use no rub on the entire panel. I use it as like the tight area. So when I'm dressing my interior, I go hit like the lock buttons, the vents, the cup holders. Like I'm hitting all those tight areas, and then I go back through with my natural finish. If you are spraying the entire panel with no rub, I'm not sure what's going to happen if you do natural finish between cleanings. I'm not sure if no rub breaks down over time. I've never really sprayed it on a large surface. Well, it's got a pretty high silicone content, right? I mean, I use it for just the tight spaces. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. And people use we saw a lot of no rub. And people, I think, a lot of times use more no rub than I do. I mean, it's a very simple. I mean, it's a very simple way to like kind of finish up some areas that were hard to get. To.
That's what I use it for.
It is good on it. It's called no rub coating, but this was, back, before coatings really started. So it has some durability, but not coating durability.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question.
So yeah, I mean, I would say natural finish easily would not be a problem. Swift has some cleaning ability to it, so it might pull off a little bit of the no rub.
Oh yeah.
It for sure won't.
Yep. Hydra, hi all.
So my favorite place for no rub is actually on the honeycomb grills on a car.
Oh yeah, I use it on I use it on every single car, inside, outside, but it's all the hard to reach areas. For sure.
All I can tell Paul is keep waiting, dude. It ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. Paul, I'm still waiting for rehab to dust. Crazy no dusting at all. It's unbelievable. The only time I've ever seen it dust was when a pad wasn't clean first.
Yeah, that's the only time I see it.
That's like the only time. I
should have cleaned the pad.
Yep.
Morning, Kron.
Good morning. Hans, JB in the house.
Look at that. He's hitting them all, I'm telling you.
Yep. And then Wolf. I love it. All right. So Humberto says they prepare for 9 months and they have it all dialed. I think he's talking about TRC. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And honestly, it's like 12 months because I know our first TRCMA 2026 meeting is like next Monday. It's like crazy. All right, Sarah, is there a certain pad you recommend with therapy? I think it's just going to depend on what correction you're doing. So, last night I used it with orange and it was absolutely fantastic. I think that you could use it with the white or the black to fit, a soft finishing pad. But so last night I had to take the coating off of my daughter's Jeep, which was less than a year old. So I used burgundy with intervention and then went back with therapy on orange, and it finished out perfectly. But I also think that generally speaking, I know like on that red Forerunner that I did months and months ago, I know a lot of you have seen that. We've talked about it a lot. That was when intervention and therapy were in testing, and it was phenomenal. That Forerunner turned out perfect. And on that one, I did wool with intervention, and then I did black to finish with therapy, and it removed all the marring from the wool. So again, super super pad adaptable. It's just kind of what you're looking for. But therapy definitely adds like that richness and pop for sure.
Yeah.
Loved it on the orange last night, though. It was perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I think with therapy, you can go a soft black foam, white foam. You go the yellow foam from Buff and Shine to the orange foam. I probably wouldn't go with the blue foam, but again, depends on what you're trying to get out, right? So, and the kind of paint. If it's super soft paint, you may want to go that way.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you know, a medium foam to a lighter foam is typically where you want to go. You know, sometimes, you know, you get the really soft foam, then they soften up so much. Where it's like, oh, I'm starting to feel like it's too soft for therapy. But it's still, I mean, we've done it many times and it still works great, but it does soften up quite a bit.
Yeah. No, I loved it with the orange. All right. Kron says, what size bottles do you use for the fragrances for arts and crafts? So the ones you see there are 4-ounce bottles. And then it was kind of funny. I didn't realize that I ordered 2-ounce bottles for arts and crafts during TRCMA. And so Joey ended up doing a 50-50 dilution. But so whatever really you would like, you can do 2 or 4 and then just, you know, figure out what the dilution you like is. But the labels that we have and that we will be doing will fit either the 2 or the 4-ounce bottles. So the labels were the same size and they looked good. So, all right, I'm about to do a maintenance wash on a CRV Honda, quick and easy. Will you recommend rinseless wash to make it faster? Oh, all day long.
All day long.
All day long.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. 100%. Most definitely. He's talking to Rags and Brushes about something. We're not sure what. Don Buckman says, what pads do you prefer with each of the polishes, including intervention when it releases? So this is going to be like the fun part is you kind of get to do test spots with pads versus products, right? So I'm going to say for intervention, so far my favorite has been either the Burgundy or the Oreo pad. But it also works very well with wool. I'm just not a huge wool user. So it works great with all the cutting pads. And then therapy, obviously, rehab, let's go to rehab first. Obviously, my favorites are burgundy, blue, and orange. And then therapy is probably going to be orange and black and white are going to be my favorites. But that's kind of the nice thing. And we kind of switched to that model in all of our trainings where we do the test spot with the pads versus the products. So,
yeah. And with rehab, I've had super great success, especially here at the training center with some of the rougher vehicles we get with the Oreo pad and rehab.
Yeah.
So kind of looking forward to
Oreo.
Get intervention in and see what we do with a more damaged vehicle. So
Yep. Swift gives a nice scent, I think is what
I'm going to go with nice scent there. Yeah, that got abrogated. So what's the difference in performance between when using release to just using paint gloss for vacuuming? And that's from John Folks for us. I think now it's a purpose-driven product is kind of the first part to that answer. And with that, you get the air and fabric refreshing effect and treatment to the fabric that you don't get with paint gloss.
Yeah, you get
the anti-static is you can tell it's for sure.
You get a step up in the actual performance of using it as a vacuum aid, and you get extra, you get extra functionality.
Yep. Amber, amazing work at TRCMA. Your whole team, including Joey and Alex, were spot on with the new polish. Do we need to tape over trim or is it trim safe? Also, would you recommend polishing oxidized trim? So we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. Yes, in the way that we say, is it trim safe? Yes, it is, but it will turn the trim darker. So if you hit trim that you weren't intending on polishing, you'll have dark spots versus white spots. So yes, you can polish oxidized trim. Now, if we're talking trim that is like super, super faded, it's not going to turn that back black, but definitely it's going to help. But if you've got super oxidized trim, then I don't know that I would recommend polishing it before doing like a solution finish. because it's obviously going to be absorbing. I mean, it almost fully absorbs the therapy. So I don't know that I would recommend doing that prior to a solution finish application unless you are going to use a pretty good alcohol to kind of strip it all. But that's just going to dry it back out. So kind of weigh what you're shooting there for at the end. But it does work great to polish trim for sure. You just are fully committed to polishing the entire trim piece. Gabriel, good morning, Dave, Keith, and Queenie. Good morning, Gabriel.
All right, Matt asking the question.
Matt.
Good morning, y'all. So I'm getting ready to polish my 68 Charger. My plan was to use rehab. Would I see any extra gloss following up with therapy?
Good question. Yeah,
I don't know, and I don't know what paint you have on the car.
I don't think there would be a reason to use the combination rehab and therapy. Basically, because rehab will do a really nice job polishing. I mean, it's going to be a pretty sensitive eye that could see the difference, right?
Yeah, yeah. I would say give it a shot. I'm just thinking back to that 55 truck that I couldn't use rehab on because
right.
it was leaving just not marring, but it was like leaving lines, like you could see lines. And so if I would have had therapy, I could have, buzzed back over it with therapy. So I think generally speaking, it's going to be, like Dave said, so minor, but if you feel like you need to go back over it, absolutely do.
Yeah. And he says it's the 2-stage paint down in the comments.
It does. It just smooths everything out. So depending on color, which if I remember speaking to him, I think it's black. So yeah, I mean, it is kind of that, which we didn't talk about that, right? That this is kind of going to be replacing our jeweling polish as well. It's going to cover all the way from, polishing to final polishing. So if you're looking for that jeweling step, you could absolutely use it for that.
So Dave, as we talk about that, because, we've talked to people about Envy, which is our jeweling polish for years, kind of using it as a rescue polish if you leave a high spot on a coating. So therapy is going to step into that role now. And any adverse issues with that, or is that going to work just fine?
Using it like a jeweling polish?
Yeah.
No, there isn't. But I'm going to be honest. I have not compared the two side by side. And that's a really important thing to do. You kind of have to get the same paint in the same situation. So obviously, we've all used Envy quite a bit, but side by side would be the thing we need to do. And I haven't done that.
I've done it. I just feel like therapy has, and I mean, this isn't going to be right, but I feel like it's got a little bit of something in it that kind of hydrates a little bit better than Envy. And Envy's not as easy to wipe off. And so I always felt like when I was using Envy as a jeweling polish that I always felt like the wipe off wasn't as smooth as I would have liked. That I feel like, I don't know, I feel like therapy ends up a little bit shinier. Envy for me was, the shining star when removing high spots for ceramic. That's pretty much primarily what I used it for. But therapy's been working great for that as well, and kind of, retains the gloss. So I have used the two side by side, and I will say I like therapy more than Envy, but Envy is still a great product, but I primarily just used it for high spot removal.
Okay.
Joey Belinsky, it's funny how everyone had to look up to your face. Yes.
Oh,
he is a very tall person.
Yes.
Very tall person.
So there's the same question from B. Riley. So kind of got that answered from the perspective on jeweling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I wrote that down. I need my own experience with that.
Gabriel, question. Why has there been made, oh gosh, one more Envy. Why has there been made a choice to replace Envy and not Playmaker? With all respect to Envy, it was good, and Playmaker could just use an upgrade.
So Playmaker's a different product because it's an all-in-one.
Yeah, it's a whole different, whole different purpose. But I'm with you on Playmaker. But it's not. I don't mean to beat up Playmaker. I just don't like all-in-ones.
Yeah, I think it
so for what it is.
I mean, truth be told, we we kept trying to improve Playmaker over the period of time we've had it. So
Yeah.
it definitely changed from when it was first out, and then there were slow, or intermittent changes throughout the life of the product. So it works a lot different than, but it hasn't changed in like a year and a half. But it works a lot different than when it was new.
Yep. Well, and maybe that's the next thing we look at as, I won't say an upgrade, but evolution wise. So
Yeah.
there's only so many projects we can start at one time, guys. So.
But I promise, Gabriel, I promise you're going to love therapy.
Yeah.
Michael Hill checking in saying Swift is awesome. It is.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Swift is awesome. All right, Joey Belinsky, also, it was really smart of you to help out the guys from Lake Country during their presentation. That was very nice of him. We appreciated him jumping in on that.
Very kind of him, yes.
Dave Ford, all the things done. Hans, hat looks great on USBG. Thank you. It's a product of didn't feel like doing my hair today, but thank you for the compliment. Good morning, Steve Pearson.
Steve Pearson. Got the chemist logo going. So there you go, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that. You mentioned that.
Yep. Alex, still in his role. TRC is still active to pick up all the PNS goodies.
All right. And that for all the new Grandambassadors that have followed since Alex, follow his example. There you go.
Yes.
Hey, by the way, wasn't it great to meet the latest Grandambassador of the year?
Yes. Brandon Purdy, yes. So great.
Awesome.
I love that program.
Yeah.
I love that program because I think we've gotten to meet some of the coolest people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think of all the Grandambassador there. I mean, it's a great program.
Yeah.
Wolf says, I really like Turtle Wax inside job for interiors. Cool. I've not ever heard of that one.
I haven't.
I like the name. That's a pretty cool
name.
Yeah, it is a cool name, isn't it?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. That is kind of a good job name. Yeah.
That is funny. Dave Ford, exploring the PNS products for the first time. Awesome.
All right. Enjoy.
Joey, thank you. I'm always happy to help. Yes, he did get thrown into that one.
I'm just saying hi to some folks.
Which was great.
Banana
runs are nasty. Amen. Awful.
I just don't like bananas, and banana oil doesn't do anything for me. So there you go.
Yeah. Joey Belinsky says, open up a new tab and head on over to the rag company.
There we go.
I think the sale goes through the end of today. Mark Abar, good morning to all. And yes, I spent money last week loving my new scent bar and tried therapy on a 34. That's going to Good Guys next month. It's blowing my mind. Thank you, Dave. That's awesome. Love it.
Cool.
And thank you, Mark, for the feedback and for trying that out. So that's awesome.
Yes, I love it. X6M Ghost says, I hate artificial banana scent. Me too.
So we're not going to come up with the concentrated banana fragrance you're thinking?
No, we're definitely not. That's not happening. Paul Rhodes said, would you ever consider making another scent for Express, maybe a lemon or fresh scent? Not that the current one isn't nice. I just have some customers who want a clean, fresh scent.
It's, Express is this, I think maybe because there's so much out there. We definitely get people are going I love the fragrance. And and I think we're talking about 5 or 6 years ago where a lot of people, fragrances change over time. People's preferences change over time. It's very interesting to kind of see how that goes. So, there was the story where we had Express Interior and they said it smells great. So I doubled the fragrance.
Pumped it up. Yeah.
That smells terrible. I'm
oops. Yeah.
My bad.
Ended up smelling like Fat Joe. Yeah. Yep.
So,
all right, Joey Belinsky. Joey Belinsky says, I just realized Josh was behind Keith. He is. Josh is going to do the training at PNS this month, which is so
speaking
awesome.
of which, we got about 5 minutes and we got to bounce to that because we got a hard stop here at 7:45. So,
all right. Mark Abar says, for therapy is going to have a chance to use release today too. Can't wait for the results. I can't wait either. Gabriel, can we at least get NB in the fragrance line? Is there a fragrance in NB?
I'll have to go look it up. I can't.
I'm
sure there is.
To it, it does have a light fragrance. I don't know if it's a designated fragrance. I know it's got.
Weird. I've just always felt like it smelled like a polish. All right, Steve, Sydney. I may have sprayed Creamsicle Swift on my clothes right before a customer showed up because I just finished using Iron River. Amen. That's awesome.
There we go.
Yeah. Love it. Paul Rhodes, which pad do you see the best results with when using therapy? Gosh, I think they're all great. But like I said, I used orange last night and was really impressed with it. But I have never been disappointed. Hydra, any finishing pad, or even orange medium pad. Yep.
There you go. Answering the question for you.
Chris Marino, good morning. Love PNS detail products. Love paint gloss. We do too.
Yep.
Stoich. Hello, everyone. Sorry a bit late. Awesome job on your event this week.
Yes.
So good.
I love the little mobile buggy.
I love the little truck is just too much. It's so good.
Yeah. If we ever put a vehicle in our booth at a show, that's the vehicle to put in. It's not
yeah. Yep.
Yes.
All right. Paint gloss is amazing. The highlight of the NGN show. Yes. It's great. Paint gloss is for the paint. LOL.
All right. We've got some work to do.
Yep. Paint gloss for paint is such a wild concept. Let's not get too crazy now. You guys should try it. You should try it. Good morning from Canada. All right. Hyper Rock says, if you want me to use paint gloss conventionally, how would I substitute it instead of Dream Maker? I do 10 parts Bead Maker, 1 part Dream Maker right now. I think that is a great thing. I think the biggest difference for me is paint gloss kind of has a waterless wash technology. So it's a little bit safer when using it on a dirtier surface. So I will use it to clean door jambs and do all that kind of crazy stuff. But I also just really love it as my final wipe down spray. There's nothing wrong with the Clean Maker. I don't know. Sometimes if I'm using, Defender or something, I just want to do a regular detail spray over. I also really, really, really love paint gloss as a clay lube.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's not
probably one of my favorite products is a clay lube.
Yeah.
And if you are one of those folks who has a dusting issue because you're using a Bead Maker or Defender or that kind of a product, it is a great final wipe down to kind of break that stack. So that is we're just going through here.
Where are all the likes? Click the like button.
Oh, they're right here. They're all talking to us. It's awesome.
Chris Marino, intervention and therapy, word awesome, rehab phenomenal, and quick correction. Yes, love it. Scott Graves, any consideration being given to releasing a SVG signature line? No, haven't thought about it. Hydra,
that's what we're doing.
Does release give the carpets a nice shine like paint gloss does? Also, +1 for paint gloss in my personal opinion. Give a nice shine. Does it make carpets shine?
I don't know about the shine thing.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
But it does, it does have some anti-soil capabilities, which is nice. Just to,
Yes. Which PNS dressing is self-leveling, and would your choice be to replace Coach Camille Motorplast? Looking to switch to PNS. So a lot of them self-level. So full send, natural finish, and dynamic all self-level.
Very much. Those are the ones I would totally say.
Yeah, and I think that I think I can say this here. Motorplast is a great product, but it's very expensive. So if you're looking for something that self-levels in an engine, any of those three is going to be a great option. I do say this I love Motorplast, but it's very, very expensive compared to the PNS dressings, which work phenomenal. So
I'm a natural, because this is well before Dynamic ever came out. I am a natural finish guy on an engine compartment. Spray it on the wet compartment, let it dry, and then close the hood. Just forget about it. You come back, you just got a great finish.
It's awesome.
Yeah, but Dynamic at 4-to-1 also really fits that space as well. So, but given my aversion to bananas, I stick with that natural finish. So
yeah. Jason Carl, you're spending too much money. Who's spending too much money, Jason?
Jason, no such thing, buddy.
Yeah, is it pronounced Stoich? I don't want to be
Stoich,
saying that wrong.
I think.
Stoich. Question for Dave regarding coating vintage stage 1 paints. Sydney, as we discussed in our challenge with the 80s portion, the coating just instant flashing. Any suggestions? So he was having issues, Dave, last week with, he was working on an older car and Classic was flashing faster than he could blink. So, we talked about doing small areas and stuff, but he was having issues with Classic was flashing super fast on this older stage 1 paint.
Huh.
Have you ever had that? I have
not. not paint dependent, weather dependent,
Yeah.
but not really
Yeah.
paint
I
dependent.
believe he was
I think
inside,
he's
if I
got a
remember from the
very
message.
dry paint. He's got a very dry single stage paint.
Yeah.
And it's sucking into that cellulose material. I have seen an occurrence like this before, Sydney. I think you know where I've seen something like this. It wasn't with a coating, but the paint's very, very much absorbing. I would probably have said a one-step polish like Ultra Coat polish to rehydrate that paint a little first with a really good decon after would maybe give you a little bit better opportunity with that. But that's single stage paint that's really dry is going to be a problem with the coating.
Yep. All right. No rub is for tight areas, like Sydney said. Yep. I do love me some no rub, though. So good. Chad says, good morning, guys. Paul, I'm working towards having every single PNS product in my arsenal pretty close to my goal, and I need to try no rub.
Yes, you do.
Oh, yeah. That's going to work out fine.
I go through a lot of no rub. Chad booked 4 stout coatings this past weekend. Awesome.
Nice work.
Dude, I love it so much. Hyperrocks, I want to buy no rub, but it's almost not on in any site but PNS. So here's my recommendation is online retailers, we don't have a ton, but if you have a local distributor to you, they could very well have it. And if not, ask them to bring it in for you.
Yeah.
Steve, some ceramic coatings that advertise a stack where the second layer of coating is added within a certain time frame. Is it truly making a thicker layer, or is it just filling in missed spots? Dave.
It eventually does. It does stack on top of itself, but some coatings like stout, we're not recommending that you do that because the finish on stout is so repellent. Is that
it won't even
trying to put another layer on top just isn't a good idea.
It won't even do it. But speaking to like view, you do need to stack it. You do need to stack it to fill in those missing spots, because view is definitely that way. So that is something very relative to view, but definitely not to stout. So make sure you check on coatings what they recommend, because we've tried to put a second layer on stout in a training, and it won't even accept it.
Didn't even take it. Yeah.
No, it just sits there on top. And ballistic versus intervention, what's the difference? Jason is asking.
A lot.
Yeah, there's nothing similar. Ballistic obviously is large particles. You can actually feel the grain. Very aggressive, leaves a lot of scratching. And to me, to be honest, ballistic is one of those products that looks like it's doing more cutting than it is. It's not doing cutting. Don't get me wrong, but it's one of those things like, oh, I'm really doing, I'm really got to take it down, or do some scratch removal, and it to me, it's just not actually performing like it looks it's performing.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Joey, my 50-50 dilution really sent Anthony into a frenzy when he got in his truck. So the 50-50 dilution was, I got 2-ounce bottles, and Joey wanted to do 25% dilution. He wanted to do 1 ounce to 3 ounces of water, but we accidentally did 2 ounces, or 1 ounce to 1 ounce of water. So on the fragrances. So it was really strong.
They did look small when you were doing that.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, those look tiny.
Yes. Oh, yes. And I did tell people they had to put in the comments that to tell Bob we need the labels. So we got to figure that out. We got to figure out the little mini labels. All right. A secret to getting rehab if we happen to not wipe it off in time. I've never had any trouble wiping it off, even after leaving it for a while. So if you do, maybe just some weird. So dry hard to get it off.
So the thing I'll say about rehab is, I think in a way it's self-cannibalistic. I would buzz over the hard. If you've got it on there and it's dried, buzz over it again with rehab on a pad, and it'll probably pull it right off.
Yeah, or I bet too, maybe Absolute.
There may be it's probably more, it's probably the type of paint. If it's sticking, boy, I'll tell you, I don't think the only time I ever saw the product get sticky was when I was using a pad that wasn't clean. And
Yeah,
it
because
looked like
I've
to
left it on
me
for quite a while.
the what was coming back out of the pad was reacting with
Yeah.
the product.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shameless plug here. Hey, a spritz of paint gloss over it and wipe it with a towel will help you out tremendously.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
there you go. Now you have a use for paint gloss again.
All right. Is intervention a diminishing compound?
No.
Yes.
Oh, intervention
no,
is?
no, I'm sorry. I was
No.
back on the I was back on Jason's question. No, it's not a diminishing compound.
Right.
All right, we're wrapping it up, getting here. Good morning to
Sitting here.
all.
Good morning. Joey Billingsley, what did you cut 50-50? The orange creamsicle sent.
Yeah.
Chad, any chance intervention could be in my hands by May 4th? Ooh, I'm going to say probably unlikely.
We're pushing.
We're pushing, but that's that's going to sneak up on us.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get a real date. I'll write this down. We're gonna have to get a planned date for the production and how long it's gonna take.
Paul says, you three have been such a blessing to the industry. I used my first PNS product over 25 years ago. I am a PNS fan through and through. Thank you, Paul.
Awesome.
So nice. Love it. Matt says, thank you. That was for the charger. Let us know how it turns out. Sarah, what date this week will the shirts be out? Also, will there be hoodies? I don't know. I'm going to have to ask Bob, did he make shirts to put on the site? And we did not do hoodies, but we got to step up our merch game.
I'll do it.
There he is. You got the
merch guy right back there.
So,
as soon as they asked.
Anytime we need a shirt, we say, Josh, new shirt.
all right, so we're kind of coming to the end here, Sid. We got to get the last couple in, and then we got to
these
talk
guys
about
got
what
to
we're
go.
going to be.
Yeah.
We
Yes,
had lots of
PNS
questions.
Spray it could talk more about it. Yeah, and appropriate usage. I just purchased. There aren't any videos on it. Okay, so Wagner, here's what I want you to do. I would like you to go to the Bead Maker Lounge and make a post about this. And Josh Pierce is going to be your guy. He uses Spray It, loves it. He can talk all about it. So go make a post for this one specifically on the Bead Maker Lounge. And then we can dive more into that because we're running out of time here.
Yeah. Spray It is a great protectant, and it's also a little bit water soluble, so you can use it in a wet environment. It's pretty awesome.
Yes. So I threw paint gloss on an outdoor, B. Riley says, on an outdoor tested this week and a few other detailers. I can confirm it had 50% less pollen on it than the others. Bill was decimated with pollen. Yeah, there's not a lot that can help with pollen. David says, is there any chance to have the OG JDM squash scent added to the line? Probably not. And the reason that I say that is because if you notice, our scents are taken out of our products versus creating scents. And we don't have a JDM squash scented product. But I'm going to have to smell it. I know Anthony has a bottle of that on his desk. So I'm going to smell it.
Yeah.
Haha Wild. Thanks for the response. Chad, thanks guys. Have a great day. You too. Gabriel, have a great day. Josh, go to make the people smart.
He's got to start with me on the way to work, so we got that going.
Yes. Yep. Oh, Joey, we miss you too.
Talk about where we're going.
An overwhelming number of products and characteristics discussed here this morning. Definitely have some homework to do. Thank you guys for spending your time with us this morning. Thank you for spending your time with us this morning too. We appreciate everyone being here. So we got to jam because these guys got to get to training. But this Friday, Keith and I have a stout training at Super Detail in San Diego. I believe there's like one or two more spots if you're in the area and you'd like to join. One more spot. So that's going to be a great time. And then Saturday is Super Detail's open house. There will be demos from several different companies going on there. Great time. Prentice St. Clair, our great friend Prentice, has planned quite the open house for that. And so we're really looking forward to that. So if you are in the SoCal area, take a trip down to San Diego to see us. And then in a couple of weeks, we'll be in St. Louis for kind of the same program.
For the end of the month. And then a couple days later, Josh and I will be together in Iowa at the PNS Iowa Detail Studio for a class with our partners at DSI. So check those events out. And we have some other special stuff coming up here in the next month. And May is going to be a busy month as well. It is not slowing down on the event side. So
yeah.
Lots of cool stuff. Thanks for being on, Sid. Dave, I'll see you at the shop in a little bit.
Yep.
Yep. Yes, Dave, thanks for joining us and helping to break down the new products.
Me.
We love
I love doing
products.
the after the shows.
Yes.
It's like there's always a bunch of good stuff going on.
Yes, for sure. All right. Well, you kids get on the road. I'm gonna do a coating on a 2011 FJ Cruiser today that I cannot wait to dive into that. So wish me luck.
Good luck. Have fun.
All right. Well, thanks, guys.
All right.
Okay, we'll see ya.